So after all of that, Meghan Markle got what she wanted. She's become a TV talent show judge. Forget changing the world. Meghan's now showing up on Australian MasterChef for a big fat check. But here's the thing. She was on the balcony and she's now performing on a minor Australian reality show that is years past its prime. How the mighty have fallen, how desperate the need for a check is. Peter Ford first broke this story. It was the reason why Meghan wasn't with Harry at his faux royal engagements today, posting not actually a day of rest for Meghan. She's been busy filming MasterChef as a guest judge. Not sure if she cooked anything other than a succulent appearance fee. And that is what he is absolutely convinced of. Meghan Markle will be being paid for this. And you see here, all of this trip is about the money. All of this trip is about another desperate commercial launch, because her outfits yesterday, which some people actually said reminded them of Ted Bundy, now available for fans to buy. So all of that briefing, do you remember all that briefing just a couple of weeks ago? Oh, Meghan doesn't want to be selling her outfits. She only really wants to push things that are meaningful for her. She has no commercial interest. That's out the window after this revelation. Meghan Markle now making money out of fans buying her clothes after putting details of her wardrobe online following a deal with an AI-powered fashion website. The Duchess of Sussex has become a participant and investor. So she wants the moolah. She needs the moolah. And of course, we know from everything that we've seen down under that what Harry and Meghan like to tell the world is absolutely not the reality of how they live. Rachel, over this image of Prince Harry, posted, "Is this the same Prince Harry?" who someone else wrote in his book describing camera clicks and flashes as a trauma response that caused him to feel triggered, making his heart race and bringing back immediate painful memories of his mother's death because he's not looking too triggered or traumatized here. And what I love about this visit is even though the Australian MSM have been very nice to him, you can see how quickly Harry wants to snap. There was a great moment where he turned up at an AFL team's venue without Meghan, who was filming MasterChef, of course. And the reporter asked him about the Wiggles. And you can see for a moment, because she links it to his children, that he was close to snapping. And then he realised, oh goodness, I'm on camera, I can't do that. Watch.
Harry, do your kids like the Wiggles?
The Wiggles?
Yeah.
Do the proper.
Oh, so there he is. Fun Harry, rather than I want to kill you, Harry, Rhiannon Mills. Then he went straight from the football to, I think, another really gross stunt, given that he is not a royal and Australians should not be having to put up with him performing PR stunts at the National War Memorial. There's no way King Charles wasn't aware of this. Harry, Meghan's spare, added little Harry needed an ego boost and feeling of importance today. Being Meghan's spare sure can put you in a state of irrelevance. And Meghan's mole pointed out Queen Elizabeth II never allowed Harry to place a wreath after running away to be a private citizen with Meghan. Daddy, King Charles III, lets his son disrespect him and continue cosplaying a royal when Queen Elizabeth made it clear there is to be no half in and no half out. And I do think, given that there has been international revulsion about that stunt at the Children's Hospital. I mean, I have seen commentators from all around the world, even some commentators who are pro Prince Harry and Meghan, absolutely despair about the fact that these young victims were lined up in the foyer and then used for social media clout. And I think sometimes what is particularly important is to juxtapose these stunts with Harry's own words. And overnight, there has also been concern that medical officials may have duty of care issues after these incredibly ill children were ordered to remove their masks in order to meet the royals so that the photo opportunity was more acceptable. And I actually found the entire hospital stunt really despicable, Yesterday, I revealed that Meghan was overheard by hospital staff as she entered saying, "Let's make this quick." And for anyone doubting that, I want to show you a particular interaction between Prince Harry, who's certainly got his performance chops on, and a clown, an adult clown who operated at the hospital. And this clown, bless her, she even gives a curtsy to Prince Harry and Meghan, really trying her best. But Meghan, according to Sally, aka Sue Smith, says she looks manic. And I keep wondering, what is the point of this? And indeed, what you can see here is that Meghan wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. Meghan is going through the motions, but is clearly annoyed that Harry is continuing the conversation and then actually walks off, making it clear that this is the power move and Harry must follow. So my reporting that she said, let's get this over with as quickly as possible is absolutely accurate and backed up. And can I just say, what's really important to note there as well is that they're clapping the clown. They're not clapping Prince Harry and Meghan. And I think it's really important to see the body language. Meghan touches Harry's arm. He still doesn't leave. And so she just goes and knows that he has to follow. There were some other terrible moments caught on camera too. Like, did you see when she just handed her flowers to her aide as if she was a royal and she sort of shoved it in? In fact, we have now discovered it was only one woman at the refuge who gave her a whole succession of compliments. The suggestion is that these could have actually been set up. And by the way, according to Taz, tracked down this picture where Prince Harry certainly doesn't look like a model. She posted stuff of nightmares and confirmed that is not AI imagery. So I would argue, Tash, who is with me now, that's the real picture of the tour, right? So you're getting the gloss, you're getting the mainstream media trying to say this is all wonderful. Actually, we have been able to work out what's really going on here. But can we kick off, Tash, with the MasterChef moment? Was this really all worth it? Really?
It's just, well, the build-up video, I don't know her name, the host, but she's like, Meghan Markle, and you're just like, you're really hyping her up here. I'm presuming that Pamela Anderson, who's actually a successful cook with a really successful and enjoyable cookery show, who's a generally nice person, was unavailable because she's also out there at the moment. But the way Meghan walked in, the Zoolander, Dan, I mean, yes, absolute Zoolander walk. But yeah,
that's what she wants, Tash. She is happiest in a tiny TV studio on a show watched by hardly anyone.
I mean, I've seen her do that walk before. And funny enough, it was one young world, not when she was in Manchester, when she talked about herself like 57 times in under 7 minutes. It's when she walked in, she had a purple dress. She had, again, Morticia Adams long hair extensions in. And she just walked with purpose towards the stage with the camera there. And she does. Someone said online that she looks like she's doing Victoria's Secret. And I was like, look, I just don't need the imagery right now. I've got enough of Harry as it is pulling that face. Yeah, I mean, this is a woman that when she did have her TIG blog, which you can't deny, it was successful for someone that was like a D-list cable, relatively unknown actress. But she grilled lettuce. She appeared on like the NBC show, a cookery segment, and she grilled lettuce as her speciality. She was famously known when she's been trying to plug getting onto some sort of show, cookery show before for a long time. And people have spoken out and said she knows how to make soup in a soup maker and cruditables. Dan, who can forget the skills that goes into Meghan Markle's cruditables? But more importantly, having a woman that only a few months ago was nicknamed Salmonella Sussex due to her atrocious and dangerous culinary skills. Anything from touching raw meat with her jewelry on, her hair dangling in stuff, eating off of spoons and forks as she puts it back in for communal food and recipes for friends. And they've got her on MasterChef. You can't make it up.
You really can't. You really can't, Tash. And then, do you share the anger and the concern that potentially the British royal family and King Charles may have had to approve that war memorial appearance by Prince Harry, which is a sort of like the ultimate cosplay moment, I thought, Tash.
I don't think we've seen something very recently, and funnily enough, it was when they went over to Nigeria and they had the guard, what's it called, where you inspect the guards, which King Charles always does whenever he's got a visiting head of state. And, you know, members of the royal family, normally because they have military ranks themselves, honorary or not, they do it. And we saw that in Nigeria, and this is it. I knew it would happen because you could tell that Harry and Meghan, whilst they're going out there to earn money, they have used a royal tour blueprint. They've done it on purpose. It's completely intentional. So, of course, you are going to have a moment with Meghan feeding the homeless, the hospital, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. I do not have nice things to say about that, I can tell you. But also with Harry, with the veterans going to the war memorial, who can forget, like Meghan's mole rightly pointed out, Harry, where he was told he wasn't allowed to have a wreath laid on his behalf, and then they shut down the LA cemetery so he and Meghan can stage their walkabout amongst the graves with a fashion photographer. This is Harry performing for the cameras. This is Harry and Meghan saying, we can do what the Prince and Princess of Wales do. I mean, it's highly, highly suspicious that these two decided to pick Australia, immediately after Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, did an open invite to the Prince and Princess of Wales to go to Australia. Bang, those two go out to Australia. And of course, by going to a hospital that Queen Elizabeth II opens, by then doing this with the veterans and memorial, Harry is cosplaying being a working royal, and he's chosen a Commonwealth country to do it, where his father is the head of state. I don't think the palace can stop them, but the palace can help with their royal credibility by stripping the titles and having them removed off the royal family website.
Yeah, indeed. That is something that I think must be done because, as you say, Tash, they are now deliberately cosplaying working royals and cashing in, which was exactly
half in,
what
half
Queen
out.
Elizabeth II didn't want.
Exactly.
Tash, I would argue, though, commercially, it's not working, even despite this massive publicity, right? So publicity all around the world. And I think, Tash, it probably goes to show that we can't always sign up to that idea all publicity is good publicity, because Her Best Life still not sold out. Still not sold out. And Tash, it just so happens, with 3 days to go, there's more tickets. More tickets have just been released, with the Mail reporting that 3 days before the retreat begins, a post on Her Best Life podcast Instagram account announced a final last-minute availability of tickets for 3 solo rooms and 2 double rooms at the 5-star Intercontinental Hotel on Coogee Beach. The caption reads, "Guest list now closing. Final availability due to movement. See you ladies this weekend. Can't wait." I think it's closed about 5 times now. And by the way, these type of headlines now being connected to the event as well. OnlyFans kingpin tied to Meghan's Girls Weekend. We reveal his paparazzi past and married at first sight double life as the Mail witnesses secret planning meeting before royal arrival. Now look, this is a bit of a pumped up hit piece by the Daily Mail against a guy called Joshua Fox, who's a British guy who is now involved in the publicity for this retreat. And he has previously been a big star of Jackie O's radio show. And I actually think he's a decent guy. But the problem is, Tash, he has been involved in this sort of, it's something called the XX Academy, which is Australia's first OnlyFans school. So it's some type of sort of social media stunt. Sounds quite grim as far as I'm concerned, but I obviously haven't seen it or anything like that. But the point is, Tash, this is now what Meghan is exposing the British royal family to. On the one hand, she's cosplaying as a royal. On the other hand, there are headlines tying her event directly to OnlyFans.
Well, if she hadn't married Harry, perhaps Meghan would have found herself on OnlyFans anyway. She was getting to that point of desperation, wasn't she? Because she was being booted off the suits. I mean, look, they do not do their research with anybody that they mix with. And I know nothing about this guy. But, you know, it's no different to when they went out to Nigeria. They accepted flights off of someone that was a convicted US con man. They accepted gifts off another Nigerian king or nobleman that was apparently involved with another US fraud and checks. They don't do any due diligence. Okay, you know what I'm saying? They don't do the
due diligence. Absolutely, Tash.
Happens to the best of us. But yes, they don't do the checks that they need to do on these people. They do not have. This is the thing with Harry and Meghan. This is why it's such a complete and utter farce. They care about the money. They care about trying to look like they're royals, but they get themselves into one disaster to the next because they don't have the teams of people around them that would advise them. And then when Harry and Meghan did have the teams of people around them advising them, they made their lives utter hell and just continued to do whatever they wanted, which is exactly why they have lost, 11 PR people, plus all of the other countless executives, administrative staff. I mean, they lose staff all of the time because they do not listen. There is no one out there that could give those two advice. And that's why everything they touch always turns to...
Now, Tash, I do want to talk about the hospital because I actually read your posts on X on yesterday's show because they really struck a chord with me. You were effectively saying, look, initially you were going to just look at this tour as a bit of a humiliation for Meghan and Harry. And we were just going to laugh at it, right? Poke fun because it is a joke. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But there was something about what they did, forcing those children into the lobby, getting them to take off their mask, potentially putting their health at risk. And for you, Tash, this crossed a line.
Yeah, it did massively. The whole layout of it was just wrong. It was wrong. Like we saw, well, I mean, I've seen pictures of Queen Mary's visit a few weeks ago, you know, a fellow Aussie. She was well received, but she went to the same hospital and there were no barriers up. Harry and Meghan cordoned people in to these areas. One, because it's a trick that they use with the Invictus Games. It means that when the cameras take pictures, because everybody's compressed into smaller areas, it looks like such a hugely, compact crowd. And there were a lot of people there, which is also very, very dangerous for children, especially those undergoing any sort of cancer treatment or lots of other treatments where their immune systems are compromised. And this is where it made me angry and disgusted because they've just got off an international flight. They finally flew commercial, but they are packed onto a plane where they do not put fresh air onto airplanes anymore. That is 15 to 20 hours of recycled germs. And the first thing they do is they go to a hospital and they're not just keeping a distance from these children like what they did in Jordan, where perhaps they were more towards the end of the bed and talking to them. Meghan is down, she's touching them, she's hugging them, she's in their face. And this to me is something that I think the hospital should also really have a hard look at themselves. Yes, it gave them publicity, but you risk those children's health. And I find that honestly shocking. And the other thing with the difference with Queen Mary's visit was where, as I said, they were cordoned off with Harry and Meghan and they weren't with her visit. So it means people could move around. Now, where Harry and Meghan have cordoned people off, it means so Meghan can pick out which child she wants to go talk to, which one she wants to crouch down in front of. And there's a clear runway for the photographers, for the media, for the video cameras, because everybody's lined up in a line and Meghan can crouch down, have her Diana moment, pick another kid that she wants to speak to, pick another kid, the ones for the best optics. I do believe that she is that mercenary and Harry is just as bad. There is a clip, I don't know if you saw it, of one little girl and she looked completely overwhelmed. It broke my heart.
Yes, we played it yesterday.
He's still continuing to talk to that child. Now, anybody could see that child was not happy. You imagine you're in there having cancer treatment, and then all of a sudden you're in with all of these noisy people, crowds of people, lots of strangers, camera flashes. The whole thing disgusted me. Really did. Really, really. As you can tell, not happy.
If Meghan is taking on a MasterChef related role, this represents a very different kind of television appearance from the projects we've seen her associated with previously. It's mainstream, accessible, and built around a format that already has a huge audience. From a career perspective, that could actually make sense. But almost immediately, the critics started asking another question. Why is Meghan doing this? Now here's where we need to be careful. The phrase "for the money" makes a fantastic headline, but unless Meghan has actually stated that financial gain is her primary motivation, that's an interpretation. Of course, television appearances are commercial ventures. Celebrities get paid. Production companies make money. That's how entertainment works. But turning that basic reality into a claim that Meghan is desperate for money is a completely different argument. And that argument requires evidence. Let's look at the other side. From a purely strategic perspective, appearing on a popular cooking format could be a smart move. It puts Meghan in front of audiences who may not necessarily follow royal news or celebrity commentary. And unlike another interview about her relationship with the royal family, a cooking show allows her to be presented in a completely different environment. Less palace drama, less royal history, more entertainment. That could actually be exactly the kind of repositioning a celebrity would want. But here's the strange part. Even when Meghan does something completely unrelated to the monarchy, the royal family somehow ends up back in the headline. Why? Because Harry and Meghan's public identities remain closely connected to their royal history. They can move to Hollywood. They can launch businesses. They can make television projects. But every new move is still evaluated through the question of what it means for the Sussexes' relationship with the royal family. That's the brand they inherited, and it's not easy to escape. Then we have Prince Harry. The headline suggests his activities are somehow infuriating the royal family. But that's another claim that needs to be examined carefully. Unless members of the royal family have actually expressed anger publicly, we shouldn't automatically assume we know what's happening behind closed doors. There can be disagreements. There can be tension. There can be private frustration. But speculation about private emotions isn't the same thing as verified information. At some point, we have to ask whether the criticism is actually about the decision or whether some people have already decided what they think about Meghan. But here's where Meghan could actually be judged on something completely different: performance. Can she connect with the audience? Does the appearance feel natural? Does she bring something interesting to the format? Those questions are much more relevant to her entertainment career than the endless speculation about palace reactions. Because ultimately, audiences decide whether a television personality works, not the headlines. So is this desperation? Or is it reinvention? That depends largely on what happens next. If Meghan continues building a television and lifestyle career, this could look like one piece of a much larger strategy. If the project doesn't connect with audiences, critics will undoubtedly point to it as another example of the Sussexes struggling to translate global fame into long-term entertainment success. Either way, the results will tell us much more than the headlines. At the end of the day, Meghan Markle taking part in a MasterChef project isn't automatically evidence of desperation, and it certainly doesn't prove she's doing it solely for money. It could simply be a commercial opportunity that fits the direction she's taking her career. And as for claims that Prince Harry has infuriated the royal family, those should be treated cautiously unless there's credible evidence behind them. The Sussexes will continue to attract enormous attention because their story sits at the intersection of royalty, celebrity, business, and entertainment. And apparently, even a kitchen isn't far enough away from the royal drama. So what do you think? Is Meghan Markle's MasterChef move a smart career decision? Or does it look like another attempt to keep the Sussex brand in the spotlight? And do you believe the claims about Harry and the royal family? Or is that simply another dramatic headline?